What is generally referred to as a nest? Nest is something, a resting place or a shelter made by some birds. Of course, most of the birds. What is the meaning of nest in the context of human beings? It is the house in which we live in, or a shelter. But it is here, the title is the never never nest. It can never be a nest, can never and never. In what way? Let us see how human relations play out in this particular world. We can see there in this lesson. When you look at the scene, the first scene, the lounge of Jack and Jill villa at New Hampstead. The essential furniture consists of a table on which are writing materials and two chairs. As the curtain rises, the lounge is empty, but Jack and Jill come immediately, followed by Aunt Jane. What do you mean by lounge? A sitting room or living room in a house. The lounge of Jack and Jill's villa. What do you mean by villa? Villa is a small house which is located or situated in a huge garden of its own, or a house having a big garden around it. That is called a villa. Jack and Jill's house it is in New Hampstead. There was essential furniture. Essential means very much necessary. Consists of a table on which are writing materials. There was a table on which there were some writing materials. There were two chairs. As the curtain rises, the lounge is empty. The sitting place is empty there, but Jack and Jill come. In the meanwhile, followed by Aunt Jane. Jill now speaks, the wife of Jack. And this is the lounge. Aunt Jane, charming, charming. Such a cozy little room and such pretty furniture. Jack, modestly, we like it, you know. Handy place to sit in and listen to the radiogram. Aunt Jane, oh, have you got a radiogram as well as a car and a piano? Jack, why, of course, Aunt Jane. You simply must have a radio set nowadays. Jill, and it's so nice for me when Jack's away at business. I even make him move it into the kitchen so that I can listen to it while I cook. So from these few dialogues we can understand that the husband and wife, Jack and Jill, are showing their house, new house, to Aunt Jane, their Aunt Jane, who came on a visit to their house after their marriage. They were recently married. So to see those just married couple, Aunt Jane visits their house and they are showing their new house to her. After showing the entire house, all the rooms there, the couple brings Aunt Jane to the lounge, the sitting room, and Jill introduces, shows that, Aunt Jane, this is the lounge. And Aunt Jane was very much impressed with that particular house, and she was saying, charming, charming, very good, very attractive. Such a cozy little room. Cozy means what? Warm and comfortable. Such a cozy little room. Wonderful. And such pretty furniture. So beautiful furniture also is there. Very charming, my dear Jill and Jack. Like that, she was complimenting them. But Jack was modestly saying, modestly means humbly, without any arrogance or pride. He was simply very modestly, politely, he said like this: we like it, Aunt Jane, you know, it's a handy place, a useful place to sit in and listen to the radiogram. Generally, Aunt Jane, this is a very useful place to sit in and listen to the radiogram. Radio, of course. I think you all know the meaning of radio. Aunt Jane, oh, have you got a radiogram as well as a car and a piano? She was really surprised. Oh, Aunt Jack and Jill, you have got a radiogram as well as a car and a piano? That's good. Jack says, why, of course, Aunt Jane. You simply must have a radio set nowadays. Yes, of course, Aunt Jane, nowadays everybody must possess a radiogram, a radio set. And Jill also says, and it is so nice for me when Jack's away at business. Yes, Aunt Jane, when Jack goes on or goes out on his business, it is very nice for me because I just can relax here, sit here, listen to the music on the radiogram. And I even make him move it into the kitchen so that I can listen to it while I cook. And sometimes I even make him to move this radiogram into the kitchen so that I can listen to it while cooking. Jack, sit down, Aunt Jane. You must be tired, and we have shown you everything now. Aunt Jane, please sit down. And you must have been tired because you have gone through each and every room of the house, and we have shown you everything now. You must be tired because we are moving you around the house. Jill asks now, what do you think of our little nest, Aunt Jane? Now you understand the meaning of nest? So she is asking Aunt Jane, Jill is asking, what do you think of our little nest, Aunt Jane? A little house. What do you think of our little house, a small house, Aunt Jane? And Aunt Jane replies, I think it's wonderful, my dears. The furniture and the car and the piano and the refrigerator and the radio, what's it? It's wonderful, really wonderful. Really, children, it's wonderful. I am very proud of you, my dears. Such wonderful furniture is there, car, piano, refrigerator, radio set. What is it? Really wonderful. And Jack says, and we owe it all to you. We owe it all to you, Aunt Jane. We are indebted to you for that. We owe it all to you. It is because of you, your help, or your blessings only, Aunt Jane, that we are able to buy all these things. And Aunt Jane says now, yes, Jack, that's what is worrying me. And that's what's worrying me, Jack. You are saying that it's all because of me. That's what is worrying me. Jack says, worrying you, Aunt Jane? What is that? Why are you worried, Aunt Jane? And Aunt Jane says, yes, that check I gave you for your wedding present. I think you remember, Jack, I gave you a check as a wedding present at the time of your wedding. It was only 200 pounds, wasn't it? Jack, I gave you a check of 200 pounds, wasn't it? I didn't put 2000 by mistake. I am just getting a doubt now whether I have put 2000 instead of 200 pounds on the check, or I wrote by mistake 2000 instead of 200. That's what is worrying me. Jill says, why? No, Aunt Jane. What on earth made you think that? Immediately Jill asks, why? No, Aunt Jane, it was for 200 pounds only. What on earth made you think that? What on earth means what? In a surprising or shocking manner when you express something, what actually made you think like that? That you had put 2,000 pounds instead of 200 there on the check that you gave to Jack at the time of the wedding. Aunt Jane relieved. Now she is relieved. Oh my God. Thank God that I did not put 2,000 instead of 200 on the check. Well, that's all right. But I still don't altogether understand. One more thing I don't understand, Jack and Jill. This house, it's very lovely. But doesn't it cost a great deal for rent? This house is really wonderful. No doubt about that. Very lovely. But doesn't it cost a great deal for rent? Aren't you paying a lot of rent for this house? Why this much big house is required for you? Jack says, rent? Oh, no, we don't pay rent. No, Aunt Jane, we don't pay rent. Aunt Jane says, but Jack, if you don't pay rent, you will get turned out into the street. Jack, how come? You are saying that you don't pay the rent, but if you don't pay the rent, you will get turned out onto the street by the owners. And that would never do, means that would not be a good thing. Because now you have Jill and the baby to think of, Now you have Jill, your wife is there, little baby is there. And if you are forced to turn out into the street, if you do not pay the rent, it would never do good. It would never be good. Jack says, no, Aunt Jane, you misunderstood me. We don't pay rent because the house is ours. No, Aunt Jane, you misunderstood me. We don't pay rent because the house is ours. Aunt Jane was so shocked that she exclaimed, yes. That's the reason why all those letters are written in capitals. You might have seen that, children. That word is written in capitals, yours. Jill says, why? Yes, you just pay 10 pounds and it's yours. Yes, Aunt Jane, you just pay 10 pounds. The house is yours. What is that? You get a house, a villa for 10 pounds? Let us see what exactly Jill means by this statement. Jack, you see, Aunt Jane. Now, Jack is trying to explain. Aunt Jane, we realize how uneconomic it is to go on paying rent year after year, when you can buy and enjoy a home of your own for 10 pounds and a few quarterly payments, of course. Why be Mr. Tenant when you can be Mr. Owner? So he is trying to explain now. Aunt Jane, we realize how uneconomic, means how financially unviable. Uneconomic means unviable. VIABLE. Means financially not correct. To go on paying rent year after year when you can buy and enjoy a home of your own for 10 pounds. What is that? If you pay 10 pounds, you can be the owner of a house. Why to go on paying rent year after year? For 10 pounds and a few quarterly payments. Quarterly means what? The amount or EMI that is paid once in 3 months. Quarter means 3. The quarterly payments means, quarterly installments means in a year there are 4 quarters, 12 months. So quarterly, a few quarterly payments if we pay along with, we pay 10 pounds down payment. We make 10 pounds down payment. We own the house. The remaining amount we can pay in easy monthly installments. Few quarterly payments, of course. Why be Mr. Tenant when you can be Mr. Owner? So, tenant and owner are opposite words. Why be Mr. Tenant? Why to remain as a tenant on chain when you can be Mr. Owner? So, I want to be the owner. I don't want to continue to remain as a tenant. On chain, I see. Yes, there is something in that. Yes, of course. There is something in that. Even so, you must be getting on very well to keep up a place like this. Even so, I'm getting a doubt, my dears. You must be getting on very well to keep up a big place like this, to maintain such a huge house, a villa, to maintain a car, refrigerator, radiogram. You must be getting on very well. That means you must be earning very well. Getting on very well to keep up a place means you must be earning a good income to keep up a place like this. Jill says, oh, he is, Aunt Jane. Yes, Aunt Jane. Jack is keeping well. Only last year he had a 5-shilling rise. Didn't you, Jack? What's the meaning of shilling, 5-shilling rise? Generally, a very common doubt that we get, what is a shilling? Shilling is a British coin that was in use till 1971. Now shillings are not there, of course. You know, pound is the currency of Britain. So, till 1971, they used to have shillings also. Okay, 20 shillings make 1 pound. $20 shillings make 1 pound. A British coin in use till 1971. 20 such shillings is equal to a pound, 1 pound. Just last year he had 5 shillings rise. Rise means what? Increment. In his income or salary, he had got a 5 shillings rise. Didn't you, Jack? Jack was very modestly saying, of course, that was nothing really. Of course, that was nothing, Aunt Jane. After all, 5 shillings rise. I am expecting 10 this Christmas. When Christmas comes again, we get an increment in our salary, in our incentives, and I am expecting a 10 shillings rise. Aunt Jane. Jack, I have just thought of something. I have got a doubt, Jack. That car, is it yours? She pointed to the car there, kept there in the corridor, in the garage. Jill says, of course it's ours. Aunt Jane, all yours? Total car is yours? Jack says, well, no, not exactly all. No, Aunt Jane, not exactly the total car belongs to us. Then Aunt Jane asks, how much of it owned by you? Jill says, I should say the steering wheel and one of the tires and about 2 of the cylinders. I should say the steering wheel and one of the tires and about 2 of the cylinders. These are the things we are owned by. Not the complete car is owned by us, Aunt Jane. But don't you see, that's the wonderful thing about it. Don't you see, Aunt Jane, wonderful. Isn't it wonderful there? And Aunt Jane says very disappointedly, I don't see anything wonderful about it. What is there, Jill and Jack? You say that you own a cylinder, 2 cylinders and a steering wheel of the car. The remaining car is not yours. What does it mean? I don't see anything wonderful about it. Jill says, but there is, Aunt Jane. There is wonderful thing about it, Aunt Jane. You see, although we could never buy a car outright, we can enjoy all the pleasures of motoring for a mere £5 down. You see, although we could never buy a car outright, what's the meaning of buying a car outright? Means totally paying the money. Paying the total money and owning the car is not possible for us. Outrightly we cannot buy a car. We could never buy. But at the same time, we can enjoy all the pleasures of motoring for a mere £5 down. If you make a £5 down payment, you can own a car and the remaining amount you can pay in installments, and without fully paying the amount, you can enjoy all the pleasures of motoring in a car. Is it not wonderful? She is trying to justify Aunt Jane and the rest by easy installments, I suppose. So after paying £5 as down payment, the remaining amount you will be paying in installments, right? I suppose. Aunt Jane says. Jill says, exactly, Aunt Jane. Aunt Jane, exactly. And what about the radio? What's it? And what about the radio then? Is it fully owned by you? Jack says, well, that is the... He is not giving a straightforward answer. Aunt Jane again asks, and the piano? Jill, well, of course. Aunt Jane, and the furniture? Jack, I am afraid so. So what is Aunt Jane trying to find out or ascertain from Jack and Jill by asking or pointing out these things that are there in their house? First she came to know that the house or the car is not fully owned by them. Car is not fully owned by them. Then she asked about the radio. Jack says it is also not fully owned by them. Piano, furniture, nothing is fully owned by them. That's what they finally said. Everything was bought on installments, easy installments. Aunt Jane, I suppose all you own is this leg. Means she points to a particular leg of the furniture. I suppose, Aunt Jack and Jill, you own, all you own is this leg of the furniture? She points to one. Jill says, well, as a matter of fact, it is that one. No, Aunt Jane, not this leg. That leg is ours. See how funny it is. She is pointing out, Aunt Jane is pointing out up to a particular leg of the furniture, a chair there, a table, and pointing out that is this, all you own is this particular leg. But Jill says, no, Aunt Jane, it is that leg, not this one. She points to another. Aunt Jane, and the rest belongs to Mr. Sage, I suppose. Oh, that means the rest belongs to, rest means what? The remaining part of the furniture belongs to Mr. Sage. Who is Mr. Sage? Some furniture company who might have sold it to them on installments. I suppose. Jill says, yes. Aunt Jane, well, I am not going to sit on Mr. Sage's part for anyone. Oh my God, I am not going to sit on Mr. Sage's part. I am not going to sit on the furniture that does not belong to you. Or exactly only one leg of the furniture is owned by you. How can I sit there on the furniture owned by somebody? She immediately stands up. Now, tell me, how much do all these installments come to? Now she asks Aunt Jane, Jack, she stood up now. Tell me exactly, Jack, how much do all these installments come to? Means how much you are paying towards installments per week? Jack says, well, actually he also was not sure about how much he was paying there. So what did he do? He takes out his pocketbook. There is a pocketbook, he takes it out and consults it. He just checks the pages there. Actually, to £7, 8 and 8 pence a week. Around 7 to 8 pounds and 8 pence a week. What do you mean by pence? Pence is the plural form of penny. Generally we say penny means a single paisa. Pence is the plural of penny. So 7 pounds 8 and 8 pence a week. See, that means 7 pounds 8 shillings and 8 pence a week. Aunt Jane, good heavens, oh my God, you are paying 7 pounds 8 and 8 pence a week towards installments. And how much do you earn? Jack, tell me, how much do you earn? As a matter of fact, that is 6 pounds. Jack says he earns around 6 pounds a week, but he is paying 7 pounds 8 and 8 pence a week towards installments. How is it possible? Aunt Jane, but that's absurd. Absurd means what? Nonsense. That's nonsense. How can you pay 7 pounds 8 and 8 pence out of 6 pounds? You are earning. Weekly you are earning, Jack, just 6 pounds, out of which how can you pay 7 pounds 8 and 8 pence a week? Jack says, oh, that's easy. You see, all you have to do is to borrow the rest of the money for the payments from the Thrift and Providence. See, Aunt Jane, Thrift and Providence Trust Corporation is a financial corporation. They are only too glad, they will be very happy to loan you any amount you like. Just on note of hand, just on hand note, you can take a hand loan from them. They are ready to, or they are very happy or glad to lend you any amount that you want. Aunt Jane, and how do you propose to pay that back? Okay, you borrow the money to pay the remaining part of the installments. And how do you pay this money that you are borrowing from the Thrift and Providence Trust Corporation? Jack says, oh, that's easy too. You just pay it back in installments. See, again installments. Not only had they bought all the things on installments, they are paying more amount towards installments than their own income per week. And to pay the rest of the amount towards installments, they borrow the money from a financial institution named Thrift and Providence Trust Corporation. And when Aunt Jane asks them, how do you expect to pay them back? Means Thrift and Providence Trust Corporation. Jack says again, that's easy, Aunt Jane. We just pay it back in installments. Already to pay the installments only, they are borrowing the money from the Thrift and Providence Trust Corporation. To pay them the money back, again they say that they would borrow the money on installments. They would pay that on installments. Aunt Jane, installments. She claps her hand to her forehead like this. This is what is called clapping her hand to the forehead. And sinks back weakly. Very weakly, she just sinks back, means sits back into the chair. Then realizes that she is sitting on Mrs. Sage's piece and leaps to her feet again with a little shriek. She sinks back weakly. Next moment she realized that she was sitting on the furniture, on the chair that belonged to somebody, Mrs. Sage or somebody. She leaps to her feet then. Immediately she jumps to her feet. Oh my God, it's not yours. I cannot sit on the furniture that belonged to somebody. And with a little shriek, shriek means what? A shrill cry. With a shrill cry, she jumped up from the chair, realizing that it did not belong fully to Jack and Jane, but it belonged to some other, Mr. Sage or somebody, means some other company. Jack, Aunt Jane, is anything the matter? Jack says, he sees Aunt Jane feeling very upset, very disturbed, almost jumps back from the chair, He thought something was wrong there with Aunt Jane. He is asking there, is anything the matter? Aunt Jane, would you like to lie down? Aunt Jane, are you feeling well? Are you not okay? If not, please lie down there on the bed. Aunt Jane, lie down? Do you suppose I am going to trust myself in a bed that belongs to Mrs. Sage or Marks or Spencer or somebody? What is this, Mr. Jack? Do you think that I will trust myself, or I am going to trust myself in a bed that belongs to Mrs. Sage or Mr. Spencer and or Marks or somebody else? Because anything is not owned by you fully here. Everything belongs to somebody or the other, some corporation or some furniture company or some financial institution. No, I am sorry, I am not going to lie down anywhere, I am going home. Jill, oh, must you really go? What is this, Aunt Jane? Just now you came. Must you really go? Is it necessary? Is it urgent now? Aunt Jane says, I think I had better. I think I had better go away now itself immediately. Otherwise, after he listening to all what you are doing there, I may not be able to get up again. So I had better leave from now itself. Then Jack offers her, I will drive you to the station. Then Aunt Jane, if you must go, then I will drive you. Means I will drop you there at the station in the car. Aunt Jane, what? Travel in a car that has only one tire and two thingamies? No, thank you. I'll take the bus. Oh my God, what is that, Jack? You want me to travel in a car that has only one tire and two thingamies, one or two cylinders? Thingamies are some unimportant things. No, thank you. I will never be trusting this car. I will never be traveling in your car anyway. I'll take the bus. I'll go by bus. I never take your offer to go by the car. See how she was really shocked. Jack, well, of course, if you feel like that about it. Okay, Aunt Jane, if you feel like that, if you feel that you should not travel in my car that belongs to somebody, that's your choice. Of course, Aunt Jane, it's your choice. Aunt Jane relenting a little. Relenting means what? Controlling or restraining herself. Restraining her anger or irritation at the way they were living. Everything was on installments. She was really shocked and worried, and she was really commenting on them that none of the things belonged to them fully. But she relented a little. She held back her anger a little, and then now she says, now I'm sorry if I sounded rude. I'm sorry, Mr. Jack and Jill. Mr. Jack and Jill, my dears, I'm sorry if I sounded rude. If I spoke rudely to you, sounded rude means if I spoke rudely to you about the way you are living, I am very sorry for that, my dears. But really I am shocked to find the way you are living. But really, I would like to say the truth, my dear Jack and Jill, that I am shocked to find the way you are living. How is it possible? What is the way you are living? I have never vowed a penny in my life. That means I have never bought or vowed or borrowed a penny, a paisa, a single paisa from anybody, penny. In my life, cash down. That's my motto. And I want you to do the same. Cash down means if I want to buy something, I will pay the full cash and take it. Buy it. I will never buy anything on installments, and I have never bought anything on installments. I never have borrowed a single penny from anybody. My motto is cash down. What's the meaning of motto? Motto. A maxim adopted as a rule of conduct. Simply we can say our principle, my motto is never owe a penny to anybody. If you want to buy anything, cash down, pay the full cash and buy it. And I want you also to do the same. She opens her handbag now. Now, look, here is a little check I was meaning to give you anyway. Now, look, my dears, anyway, I was meaning to give you a check because I have come to you after 1 or 2 years of your marriage. A little check is there for you now. I was meaning to give you anyway. Not because I have heard that you all bought these things in installment, just I was meaning to give it anyway. She hands it to Jill. Then she hands over the check to Jill. Suppose you take it and pay off just one of your bills, so that you can say one thing at least really belongs to you. So, my intention, my dears, is I want you to pay off just one of your bills. So many things you are paying installments. At least one of the bills you clear, so that you can say proudly that at least one thing really belongs to you, really owned by you. Jill somewhat awkwardly means here uneasily. She was somewhat uneasy with the way Aunt Jane spoke. Thank you, Aunt Jane. It's very nice of you. And she thanked Aunt Jane. Thank you very much for your help, for your check, Aunt Jane. Aunt Jane patting her arm. There, now I must be going. And Aunt Jane patted her arm there. Okay, see you again. I must be going now. Jack says, I will see you to the bus anyway. Okay, you refuse to travel in my car, Aunt Jane. I will at least just accompany you to the bus. I will see you off there at the bus stop. Jill says, now goodbye, Aunt Jane, and thanks so much for the present. Jill thanks Aunt Jane for the present of the check, and she leaves from there. Aunt Jane kissing her, goodbye, my dear. Aunt Jane just drew her close, embraced her, kissed her, goodbye, my dear, and she left. She and Jack go out. Means Aunt Jane and Jack go out because Jack offered to see her off at the bus stop. Jill looks at the check and exclaims, £10. And that check was worth £10. Oh, she looks at the check and exclaims, oh, £10. Then she hurries to the table, addresses an envelope, endorses the check and slips it inside with a bill which she takes from the bag and seals the envelope. What did she do with the check now? See, she hurries to the table, takes out an envelope, writes the address there on the envelope, endorses the check. Endorse means what? Write on the back of something or approve. When you write on the back of a document or write on the back of a check, generally, suppose your father gave you a check to draw the money from the bank. Your name is written there on the front side of the check. On the back side also, your father has to endorse. Endorse the check means on the back side also he has to sign, indicating that he only is sending that particular person, that is you, to draw the money using the check. That is what is called endorsing. So she takes out an envelope, endorses the check, and keeps that check in the envelope. There was, along with a bill, she takes out a bill from her handbag. Along with the bill, she keeps the check, and both of them she puts there in the envelope, and she seals the envelope. She pastes that. Then she rings the bell. In a moment, the nurse comes in with the baby in her arms. Already, see, in addition to all these things, they also appointed a nurse to look after their baby, a small baby. So when she rings the bell, in a moment, the nurse comes there with her baby in her arms. Jill says now to the nurse, oh, nurse, I want you to run and pose this for me. I look after baby while you are gone. I want you to run and pose this for me, my dear nurse. I look after the baby. Just give the baby to me. I will look after the baby while you are gone. Nurse, certainly, madam. She hands the baby to Jill, takes the letter and goes. A second later, Jack comes in again. After the nurse leaves the place, Jack comes back again after seeing off Aunt Jane at the bus stop. Jack, well, she's gone. Thank God she's gone. What a tartar. What's the meaning of tartar? An irritable or a hard to cope with person. What's the meaning of COPE? Cope? To bear. Means a person who cannot be born. That means whom one cannot bear at all. That is called an irritable person. It is also known as a tartar. So he was referring to whom when he was saying about that tartar? He was referring to Aunt Jane. Because she told him good things, that's why he thought she was a tartar. She was an irritable person. She was a person whom nobody can cope. Nobody can bear. Oh, well, she's gone. What a tartar. Still, she did leave us a bit on account. How much was it? Even still, she did a good thing. She did leave us a bit on account. Means, I think she gave a little check. She did leave us a bit on account means what? She has given us something to be added to our account. How much was it? Jill says 10 pounds. Jack with a whistle, phew, like that. He was expressing relief there, joy. That's great. We can pay off the next 2 months on the car with that. Oh, next 2 months if we pay the 10 pounds, 5 pounds each month, we can buy the car with that. That's great. We can pay off the next 2 months. Next 2 months installments we can pay with that amount. Jill says, I'm afraid we can't. No, Jack. I'm afraid we can't. Jack, why ever not? Why are you saying like that? Jill, why ever not? We can make use of that money to pay the next 2 installments for the car. Jill says now, you see, I've already sent it off for something else. Nurse has just gone to post it. See, my dear Jack, I have already sent it off for something else. And I sent the nurse to post it just now. Jack, well, that's all right. Okay, Jill, that's all right. Anyway, you sent the money to pay some installments only. Okay. Who have you sent it to? But tell me exactly to whom did you send? Jill says, Dr. Martin. Jack, Dr. Martin? What on earth possessed you to do that? What happened? Have you gone mad? Jill, what on earth made you? What on earth possessed you to do that? Has anything possessed you? A demon or a devil possessed you that you did like that? You sent that 10 pounds check to Dr. Martin? Jill, nearly in tears, and she started crying. There, now you are going to be angry with me. See, for simple thing only you are getting angry with me. She started crying. Jack says, I'm not angry. Jill, try to understand. But why waste good money on the doctor? Why waste good money on the doctor? Jill, I don't understand. Doctors don't expect to get paid anyway. Doctors don't expect to get paid anyway. What is there for us to pay to the doctor? We need not pay anything to the doctor. It was over already. Jill sobbing a little. She started sobbing a little, crying with breaks. But you don't understand. But you don't understand anyway, my dear Jack. Jack says, understand what? Jill, why? Just one more installment and baby is really ours. Now she revealed the truth. One more installment, Jack, and the baby is really ours. That means the baby that they had possessed is also on installments. They did not pay the money, doctor's bill fully while she delivered the baby. They did not pay the hospital bills completely, doctor's bills. So the baby was on installments. Not only the things in their house, on the house itself, but also their baby was not fully owned by them. See the amazing thing about